Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Produce Buzzers podcast. We're so happy that you've joined us today, and I think you will be too after the show is over. You will have learned a lot about fresh fruits and vegetables, how to prepare them, what their nutritional value is, all about their history and origin. We hope you'll find it interesting, and we hope it inspires you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, not only to improve your health, but to enjoy their deliciousness while you do so. I'm Edwin Stepp, your host and executive editor of Produce Buzz. We are once again joined by Teresa Nolan, president and founder of Produce Buzz, and our fearless leader. Rick Stepp is with us again, as well as the lovely Cynthia Benedetto. As our regular listeners know by now, the four of us worked for many years together in the produce business, and that is why we have the audacity to try and pull off this podcast. We have quite a bit of knowledge about all things fruit and veggie, and we are passionate about it. So we hope our passion will translate to you and inspire you to eat more fruits and veggies. In today's episode, we are going to enlighten you about Cruciferous Veggies. Do you know what those are? Well, you will by the end of the podcast. And why some of you might not like them so much. It might be because you are a super taster. Stay tuned to find out if you are. We are also going to play another round of the mystery fruit or veggie quiz. Stay tuned and play along to see if you can guess today's mystery fruit or veggie. But first, in a previous episode, Teresa gave a very good presentation on the health benefits of mushrooms. She told us that she was getting ready to grow some lion's mane mushrooms and experiment with those. How did that work out, Teresa?
It actually worked out pretty well. They were quite easy to grow. I ordered them from the Park Seed Company, and they come already seeded in a little plastic package, and I put them in a box in the basement, and you just sprinkle them with water, and then they start to produce the mushrooms. And so I harvested them and made lion's mane crab cakes, so to speak, because I used the same seasoning that you would for crab cakes, and they tasted like crab cakes. So it was kind of a nice discovery that you could get something vegetarian that kind of allowed you to eat something that you're not usually eating if you're a vegetarian.
That sounds delicious.
It worked out great.
We'll have to share that recipe on the Produce Buzz website.
Yes.
I don't know how easy it is to get lion's mane mushroom across the country. You might have to grow your own to do it, but I know in some of the bigger cities it's probably easy. Maybe some of the rural areas, maybe not so much without growing them. That sounds
well. They do grow in the wild, of course. Well, these, once you've seen them, I think they'd be pretty easy to identify. But who knows how many other mushrooms appear like them?
Right. They do have a very distinctive look. That's for sure. I remember seeing them when we talked about them last time. The texture was like crab then as well.
Yeah. So I just broke them up into little pieces, like you would expect crab to be broken up, and then I used the Old Bay seasoning. I think that's what makes them taste like. I think that's what makes crab cakes taste like crab cakes. Actually,
that's probably the main seasoning.
Yeah, and
that
so
comes
like
out
I said,
of Maryland area. That I think that Old Bay seasoning was created in Maryland, and the Maryland crab cakes are famous.
So I kind of modified the recipe I had found to fit the ingredients I had. So I'll share that with you.
Great. And we'll post it on the Produce Buzz website, producebuzz.com.
Teresa, can you tell us how long it takes to grow those?
It only took, like 2 or 3 weeks for them to start growing. And I put little slits in the bag, and the mushrooms just grew out of the slits. They did tell you to, I believe they told you to allow a little bit of air circulation in there, but
you have to keep them in the dark, or they grow in the light?
Well, you can actually go out and seed these mushrooms on a dead tree.
Right.
So you could take the things they sent you and go out and put them on a dead tree, but it'll take a couple of years to get product, according to what I had read. But this, it just was like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And they say once they finish producing, you can give them a rest for a couple of weeks and then give them a little bit more water and they'll produce another crop. So.
And how long will they produce?
Well, I went on a trip before mine had finished, so I'm not sure what I'll see when I get back. But these are the ones that they had said that Japanese scientists had experimented with Alzheimer's patients, and that they had seen some very positive improvements in people with that and Parkinson's when they ate lion's mane mushrooms.
Interesting. You'll get back and your house will be mushrooms all over the walls, the floor.
Mold.
Oh dear. I saw someone on the mushroom website post a picture of 2 mushrooms growing out of the tile on a sink in a bathroom, asking, "What is this mushroom?"
Was that in a truck stop restroom?
I have no idea.
But science spirit experiment.
How long it had been since they had cleaned the bathroom, if that was happening?
I would think a truck stop restroom would be a good place for mushrooms to sprout.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Okay.
So are you more disgusted by the dirt growing the mushroom, Cynthia, or the mushroom itself? I know you can't palate mushrooms very well.
I would bet any of you $500 that Cynthia is a super taster. Have you ever been diagnosed as a super taster?
She has super taste. I know that.
Thank you. Whom would I be diagnosed from?
Well, it actually is a genetic thing. In fact, I first found out about it because my grandson is a super taster.
So go ahead, tell me what type of doctor makes this diagnosis?
Well, probably a neurologist. I'm just guessing, but super tasters like my oldest grandson who can taste. Super tasters can taste phenylthiocarbamide. Short for that is PTC, which is either bitter or tasteless. And super tasters are much less likely to find cruciferous vegetables palatable.
Because?
Well, because of the chemical.
Probably.
Well, this comes next.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so my grandson.
Did I win $500?
Yeah. No, you've got to bet. You have to get Cynthia diagnosed first.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But like I said, my grandson, you could not force him to eat cruciferous vegetables. He absolutely is a super taster. And to give you an example, we know that the sense of taste and the taste of smell are interconnected, correct? Like if you've ever had a cold, you notice that you can't taste things as well. Well, this is an example. His dad had shot a deer and was tracking it through the woods, and Henry was with him, and they lost the blood trail. And so they thought, well, we're going to lose this deer. And Henry was 4 years old. He looked up his dad and said, "I can smell the deer." And he said, "Oh, you can, huh?" He said, "Yes, I can smell it." He said, he pointed, he says, "It's over there." So Phil thought, well, why not? We walked exactly where he said, and there was the deer laying there.
Amazing.
He could smell that deer. And Phil said,
now he smelled the blood, or he had the scent of so he's like a coonhound.
Yeah, it was probably the blood that he smelled.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing. But he couldn't believe it because nobody smells a deer from that distance,
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say, but since he was little, I've tried to feed him things at my house that are healthy, and he does not trust me anymore. He doesn't know what he will not taste it. He says, "No, I like the food that I have at home. I don't want."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then when you're coming to visit him, he probably can smell you coming. So he goes,
Probably so.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
that's really interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. Maybe it's not super tasting and super smell. Maybe he's just clairvoyant, or
Exactly.
Well,
ESP.
maybe that is one of the traits of a third
What was that movie? I see dead people. I see dead deers.
Maybe it has to do with like more the magnetic vibrations, and he's like really Magellan, and it's like super direction.
Well, you said he had a lot of different. His genetic makeup was quite varied. Maybe there's some bloodhound in there somewhere.
Well, there's actually evidence genetically that certain people from different parts of the world use that to avoid poisonous plants.
Well,
and they're evolved that way.
Yeah, I did know that. Like, God, I learned this in one of these classes. Who knows what it was, but that children, they have their tongues develop. I think sweet first. Is that how it is? Or whatever the taste they develop first, so that is to protect them back in the days for if they were eating things in the wild, they wouldn't eat something poisonous.
Yeah, it does go well. People who study genetics believe that. I don't know if it's been proven, but a super taster is a person who tastes certain flavors in foods more strongly than other people. The human tongue is wrapped in taste buds. The small mushroom-shaped bumps are covered with taste receptors that bind to the molecules from your food and help tell your brain what you're eating. Some people have more of these taste buds and receptors, so their perception of flavor is stronger than the average person. They are known as super tasters and are particularly sensitive to bitter flavors and cruciferous vegetables.
So they actually have more taste buds than the average person.
Yeah, it's actually repulsive to them.
Yeah. But is that physically, is that the only way you would be? If you're a super taster, you have more taste buds, or could you still be a super taster with the average amount of taste buds?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question, but I would not have believed that until this experience with my grandson, because
right.
I mean, absolutely would be just torture if you made him eat those.
And Kio's a better eater than I am, because I was not going to let her have my limited palate. But I don't. Broccoli's not my favorite. I will choke it down, but I'm not very good on definitely texture, but like cilantro, a little bit goes a long way. So when you're saying like, Scott has cilantro, I'm like, okay, we're having separate guacamole.
Yeah, I'll make one with onions for you and no cilantro, and one with me. No
I used that. I had the other night, we went and they had plantains, but they used the micro sprouts on them of the cilantro.
Oh,
wow!
Did it have the cilantro flavor still? Must.
Yes, it did, and that's the thing, that they're really they have more flavor. Like if you took just a little leaf, you're like, oh, it's cilantro.
Yep.
Hey, I do have a little bit more on this on the super tasters.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Super tasters are born with this ability. Indeed, research suggests a person's genes may be responsible for their super tasting abilities. Scientists believe most super tasters have the gene TAS2R38, which increases bitterness perception. The gene makes super tasters sensitive to bitter flavors in all foods and drinks. And about 25% of the population qualifies as super tasters.
And they don't say anything about specific regions or ethnicities?
No, but I have read another article on it once about that different cultures evolved as a defense against poisonous plants and that kind of thing. But what I was surprised is that about 25% of the population qualifies as super tasters.
Yeah, that surprises me too.
Yeah, so it's definitely in different degrees. Because I would say that I'm a super taster and the opposite. Ever since I was a child, I loved vegetables. I remember loving them. And I even when I was in grade school, they used to serve us sauerkraut, and I loved sauerkraut. And none of the kids liked it, and they would all give me their sauerkraut at lunchtime. I had like a whole plate full of sauerkraut.
That's interesting.
So I was always kind of the opposite. That's why I was shocked about my grandson, for being repulsive to him. And that's probably why, when I was saying earlier, I can steam vegetables and put no seasoning on them, and the flavor is just excellent to me.
Yeah.
But some people, I guess, have to put salt on them in order to choke them down.
Yeah.
But that's all I had on that.
That was interesting, though. I don't think I've ever heard that before, anything about super tasters. And about taste and smell related, I think you all know this, but on our tongue, we only sense, I think now they say 5 different tastes. Sweet, bitter, sour, salty, and now they say umami. Have you heard that?
No.
Umami is more of a kind of the sensation that you get when something is really good, like from an avocado.
Mm-hmm.
When you eat an avocado, the oils in it give you this kind of umami.
A flavor,
taste.
a fat flavor.
Yeah, I think it is. It's kind of sensing and tasting the fat as opposed to those other things. And
how do you
every
spell that
other
word?
every other taste that we sense comes through the nose.
Yeah.
UMAMI. I think it's Japanese.
Yeah, it is.
Umami. Mm-hmm.
I thought at first you said mommy, and I thought, well, it must be from breastfeeding.
Probably breast milk gives babies an umami taste. But
Yeah.
is there a definition
The
for
fat
that?
and the sugar in that,
Did you just look that up?
Yeah,
Cynthia?
it says, yes, the taste sensation that is produced by several amino acids and nucleotides. And it has a rich or meaty flavor characteristics. So of cheese, of cooked meat, mushrooms, soy, ripe tomatoes.
Interesting.
I bet part of the sensation from ice cream has to do with that as well. It's not just the sweetness of the ice cream, it's the fat flavor.
Yep, for sure. So that was a nice little bonus segment for our listeners today. Thanks, Rick, for telling us about super tasters. Are you a super taster, listeners? Maybe you are. Let us know if you are, and tell us how that affects your culinary experiences. You have a 1 in 4 chance of being one, according to Rick's statistics. And now we'll turn to Rick. And Rick today is going to tell us about a certain class of vegetables that are very healthy. Rick, what are you talking to us today about?
Well, today I'd like to talk about cruciferous vegetables. And a lot of people may not be familiar with that name, but it is a whole class of vegetables, and I'll list some of them later. But they are vegetables of the Cruciferae family, with many species and cultivars being raised for food production. The family takes its alternative name, Crucifera, which is Latin for cross-bearing, and that's named for the shape of their flowers, whose 4 petals resemble a cross. In North America, they are also known as cole crops, hence the name coleslaw. You can make coleslaw from broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables as well, but mostly we think of it made with cabbage.
And cabbage
And
is cruciferous, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're called cole crops, which I don't know if that's a shortened form of cold crops, because they do grow in the cooler time of the year.
Cole is the German word for cabbage, so I think that's where it comes from.
In the UK and Ireland and Australia, they are known as brassicas. Cruciferous vegetables are one of the dominant food crops worldwide. They are high in vitamin C, soluble fiber, and contain multiple nutrients and phytochemicals. If you notice, they're not necessarily that high in multiple vitamins, but these nutrients and phytochemicals are very important for nutrition. And so here's a list of some of the cruciferous vegetables that are readily available in supermarkets. I never even knew this, but horseradish is cruciferous.
I didn't know that.
Kale, yeah. Kale, collards, Chinese broccoli, Savoy cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, Chinese cabbage, Napa cabbage, turnip greens, mustard greens, rutabaga, arugula, radishes, watercress, and wasabi. And there's a lot more than that I did not list because it would probably be difficult to find them in a grocery store.
And that's amazing. I didn't realize a lot of those were cruciferous. I think the most surprising one to me was arugula. I think of that as a lettuce, while the others seem to be more like hardy vegetables.
Yeah. And the thing that makes them so special is the chemicals contained in cruciferous vegetables induce the expression of the liver enzyme CYP1A2.
Oh, yes, of course. Wasn't that a character in Star Wars?
Yeah, I think so.
CYP3, CP30. Oh. Should be, could be. They keep making new ones, so I think we should suggest that. It could look like a broccoli or something.
But it does something to induce the liver enzyme. The liver makes that enzyme. They are potentially involved in detoxification of carcinogens such as alpha toxin. High consumption of cruciferous vegetables has potential risk from allergies and interference with drugs such as warfarin, which is a blood thinner. So if you're taking anticoagulant therapy, you should be cautious and talk to your medical doctor about eating them consistently. I know my doctor told me as long as I eat relatively the same amount consistently, that it was okay.
You know, that would be not a problem for me because I'd be like, okay, no cruciferous, no problem.
Which I believe.
I gotta make sure that I keep my meds right.
So is that all we have today about cruciferous veggies?
Yes, and as we go on throughout the year, we could talk more specifically about different types of cruciferous vegetables. But in my opinion, if you had to just pick one type of vegetable, that would be the one to pick because there seems to be so many health benefits and they don't run your blood sugar up. Just my opinion.
No, I think that's right. I've read a lot about that, especially cancer fighting ability.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, Rick. Well, it's time for this episode's version of the mystery fruit or veggie of the day quiz. Play along with the produce buzzers as they try to guess what today's mystery fruit or veggie is from the clues that I will give. And we'll see how well you do. Okay, produce buzzers, are you ready?
Yes.
For the
Let's go.
mystery fruit or veggie quiz. Okay, in today's world, our mystery fruit or veggie of the day is one of the most useful and common in the produce aisle. But it wasn't always that way. In the 1800s, in Victorian England and in the burgeoning economy of 19th century Americas, fueled by the Industrial Revolution, if you had this fruit or veggie at your dinner party, it was a sure sign of wealth. So much so that it was often displayed as the main centerpiece and decorations on the dinner table.
I already know what it is. Go ahead.
Well, you can guess. That's all right. If you know,
I don't want to. The pineapple.
Nope. Sorry.
I was gonna say, no. The pineapple means like welcome, doesn't it? Isn't that like like that?
Yeah.
Now,
I was gonna say
that might have been true.
Yeah.
For the pineapple.
It was true.
What I said may be true, but that wasn't my choice, and we'll go further now.
I say the pear.
Sorry, not pears.
Damn it.
Okay, you guys have already had your guess. I want more information if he's going to
Okay,
get it.
let's go. This fruit or veggie, like those cruciferous vegetables, which I'll go ahead and say it's not, this fruit or veggie is very healthy for you in many ways, but some in the past thought eating it brought another great benefit. The Romans thought it was an aphrodisiac. And Casanova, you know him, so famous for his sexual escapades, also thought this, and he ate a lot of it to fire up his romances. And the wife of Louis XV fed him soup made from this fruit or veggie in hope that there would be plenty of opportunities for her to give him a lot of heirs to the throne. That's probably not enough information for you to guess, but there is a little clue in there that might narrow it. The fact that they made soup from it. King Tut was buried with a collar that contained the leaves of this fruit or veggie. So the Egyptians thought it was very important as well. But remember, it's a very common, today it's common, ordinary. But in those past, it was considered something much greater. The fruit or veggie needs just the right soil to grow it, and because of that, it took a long time to make its way from Europe and Britain to the U.S. Thomas Jefferson, who had quite a green thumb, eventually gave up trying to grow it in Virginia. It wasn't until late 1800s that it was first grown commercially in Michigan, near Kalamazoo, because the soil there was perfect for it. And both Dutch and Scottish immigrants in that area claimed the credit for bringing it to Michigan. Today, it's not considered luxurious at all, but it was one of the main ingredients of one of the signature dishes of a famous luxury hotel in New York City. And it also adorns a very famous cocktail. Any guesses?
Olives?
Nope. I don't think they grow olives in Michigan.
Oh, that's true.
Nice.
I was thinking the cocktail, dirty martini.
Well, yeah, that's right.
You did say as a garnish, correct?
It is a garnish in the cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to narrow it down probably. Well, maybe not. That could be a lot of different things. But I'll give you another hint about the luxury hotel. This very famous dish there was a salad.
I'm going to guess celery.
Celery. Rick, you got it.
Ah,
What tipped you
Oh,
off?
wow.
What tipped you off? The garnish and
Wah,
the drink?
wah.
The
I thought it was going to be
Bloody
something sexy.
That's the only thing that gave it away was the garnish, because there's not that many vegetables that you use for a garnish.
Yeah, but there's fruit.
No,
You
but
didn't know it was a
yeah, he said fruit
veggie.
or veggie.
Yeah, but the soup part, you know.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm glad you got it. I didn't want us to go. I know that some of these clues, I was going to give you much better clues coming right up. So we, I know these first clues I give are pretty obscure and don't really help much, but they're interesting facts. Okay, so, well, that's great. The next clue I was going to give is that this veggie is one part of the Holy Trinity in New Orleans kicking, and I think we talked about that in a previous episode. What is the Holy
The
Trinity?
mirepoix.
Yeah, mirepoix, which is
Carrots, onions, and celery.
right. And the Holy Trinity in New Orleans, though, they have they substitute peppers for the carrots, I believe. So it's celery, onions, and peppers.
Mm.
But that's it. Yes, that's exactly right.
Like bell peppers?
I think
Bell
probably,
peppers or like spicy pepper?
they're probably like bell peppers, although they do use a lot of spicy peppers down there. So it could have been from, it could be spicy peppers.
Wow.
And I don't know if you guys were ever fans of the British sci-fi series Doctor Who. Did any of you ever watch that?
No, I've heard of it.
The Fifth Doctor, which was sometime I think in the 70s. And for those out there who don't know the series, I specify the number of the Doctor because when it was time to get a new actor to play Doctor Who, rather than like in the James Bond franchise, just forced the audience to suspend disbelief and accept that it was the same spy. The writers of Doctor Who very cleverly had the Doctor morph into a new face and body. Of course, it is a sci-fi show, so there was no need for suspension of disbelief. Now we understand why the Doctor looks completely different. So now they are up to the 13th Doctor, I believe, who, by the way, is the first woman to play the Doctor. But the 5th Doctor in Doctor Who used to wear a sprig of celery on his lapel. And in one episode...
Okay, that kind of seems nerdy. Yeah, that kind of seems nerdy.
Yeah, so in one episode they...
That makes sense, yeah.
They had a character ask him, so why do you wear a stick of celery on your lapel? And he said, does it offend you? He goes, no, I'm just curious. And then the Doctor said, it's a safety precaution. I'm allergic to certain gases in the praxis range of the spectrum. How does the celery help? He asked. If the gas is present, the celery turns purple. And then the character says, and what do you do then? He goes, I eat the celery. If nothing else, it's good for my teeth. But it's very, I found it fascinating that that's something we see is so common, celery. We don't think of it as a luxury item, but it was in those days. And they used to, I saw some photos of some of the vases they would put the celery in. They'd take big stalks, leave the leaves on them, put them in the vase, and put it right in the center of the table. And the bigger the stalk of celery, the more impressed, I guess, people were from it.
Well, and with celery, if it starts to go limp, you can put it in water and it kind of rejuvenates. So keep putting it in the water probably kept it from going
That's
limp.
true. I'm sure that was a reason because they didn't have refrigeration then. So that was probably one reason to do it.
And another key is it's hard to grow. Like in Virginia, they couldn't grow it very well.
Yeah, maybe they've overcome it. Now I think you could probably create the right kind of soils. But the soil is, they call it muck. There's a certain balance between water and, really rich soil.
Yeah.
And Kalamazoo area was the place that they found that was already had it naturally. And Kalamazoo is known as the Celery City, and they have a museum there to celery.
Wow, that's cool. Also, Florida, around Lake Okeechobee, they grow celery, and they have a muck soil there.
Okay, yeah.
But California grows the best celery of all.
Yeah, and they are the biggest producer now. There's not much grown in Michigan anymore at all.
Yeah.
Because of urbanization primarily in that area and manufacturing that kind of overtook things. But yeah.
But I don't know, the soil they grow the celery in California, I don't know if it's considered muck. But
I don't know either, but they must have to get it to some point that's close to it. I know there are, like we used to represent the artichoke board, and Teresa can correct me. My memory is a bit faint on that, but they used to grow those grew best in these what they call the sloughs or the sloughs. I don't know how you say that word, but it was where there was the soil was very that's like a drainage ditch, but it was like very thick muck.
Yeah, so it probably is in fact, I know around Lake Okeechobee they call it muck.
Yeah, that's what they called it in Michigan as well. So yeah.
In fact, one time when I guess you worked for the artichoke board as well as Teresa, and then Teresa hired me to do it after you had done it. They had me come out to California to see the artichoke growing, and it had rained really hard. And I went out into the field. They said, bring rubber boots because the soil is really like it's muddy. You'll ruin your shoes.
Yeah.
I wore those rubber boots in the field, and the mud was all caked on them. And when I went back to the hotel, I thought, well, I'll just rinse these off in the bathtub. And it clogged that tub up. It would not drain. I had to call them and say, I'm sorry. I was rinsing my boots off.
Oh man. Yeah.
Rather than
I don't think
bathtub
I ever
or
walked in those fields, but I saw them. But anyway, so California must have some muck for celery
Yeah.
growing. They grow most of it in the
Yeah.
country. I know they grow a lot in Florida. That famous salad, did anybody guess what the famous salad was from the New York City Hotel?
Oh, Waldorf?
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but the Waldorf, I think that the Waldorf is, when I think Waldorf, I think nuts, grapes,
Apples and
onions.
celery. Apples and celery. Yeah.
Yep. The that is it now, but the original salad version, first created, I think sometime in the 40s, I believe. It was only apples, celery, and mayonnaise.
No,
Ugh.
No
no
nuts,
nuts.
no grapes.
Wow.
So it evolved. I think the latter version is much better,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But anyway, that was a lot of people didn't know that. So the celery was like, big time star in that salad.
Hmm.
Yeah, now it's like the hardware item of the kitchen.
Yep, that's true.
Mhm.
Of course, you can't eat buffalo wings without them either. Keep take the heat out of those buffalo wings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's been around for a long time. King Tut probably ate it. He wore it, at least we know that, and it's mentioned by Homer and Pliny. Hippocrates prescribed it as a nerve soother, and it's been used for a lot of different medical cures throughout the ages. I won't list them all, but various cultures throughout history found different uses to heal certain problems, especially when it like digestion and constipation. That was the biggest thing, and probably was true. Some of the other things were probably a little suspect, especially the aphrodisiac.
I'm like, wait a minute, oysters aren't a fruit or vegetable, right?
Well, now next time I order oysters, I'm going to have some celery with them.
They sell celery root extract in health food stores.
Oh, that's right. I think I have seen that before.
I've never bought it.
Did they say what it's
Why would I
for?
buy that? I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. You can eat everything about the celery plant. The celery root is good. The stalk, the leaves, everything. So.
And maybe in those days they ate every bit of it, not just the stalks. Maybe the root was actually what they thought was so medicinal.
Well, I see it in the grocery stores even here, celery root. I think they call it celeriac or something. That's what they sell it, or brand, or not brand it, but that's the name for it, rather than celery root. But I've eaten them before. Nothing to jump up and down about, but it was pretty good. I'm sure it's very good for you.
Yeah.
Now the Greeks, though, thought the Greeks associated celery with death, and they would put garlands of celery leaves on the bodies of the dead for their funerals. And that led to a common Greek expression, which they still use today, is, "He now has need of nothing but celery."
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Well, it's Greek. I don't think it made it into English, but anyway.
Okay.
The other myth about, well, not that we've talked about myths, but there has been this idea that celery has negative calories, meaning that it takes more calories to eat and digest.
Right.
But that's actually not true. It's been disproven. But it is very low in calories, so you're not going to get fat if that's all you eat.
Yeah, I mean, who could, like, I smear, cream cheese on it, or peanut butter. These are supposed to be negative calories.
Yeah, but they put the negative calories in quotes because you could probably never get fat by just eating celery.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
You'd probably be really thin if you just ate celery and nothing else.
Yeah.
And malnourished.
Well, you did very well today guessing the mystery fruit of the veggie. We got to the answer a lot quicker So congratulations, Rick, for figuring that one out. So that brings us to the segment we all love most here on Produce Buzzers, Homegrown. And Teresa, one expert, is going to bring us the pun of the day, and then we'll have our homegrown. Teresa.
Okay, so it's a question today. If a parsley farmer fails to pay child support, should you garnish his wages?
Come on, we're supposed to groan, not laugh.
That was good, Teresa. That was good.
I have got to say, I don't think I've ever personally known a parsley grower.
No,
Yeah,
not that we know of.
I partially knew one. I didn't know him well, just partially. Okay, stop this nonsense. It's getting way too silly. Thank you, Produce Buzzers, for enlightening us about all those fruits and veggies. Can't wait till we're together again on the Produce Buzzers podcast. Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Produce Buzzers podcast, brought to you by Produce Buzz, the gathering place for lovers of fresh fruits and veggies. We hope you were entertained a bit and educated a lot about fresh produce. Be sure to join us next time, and please tell your friends to do so as well. Like, share, and comment on our Produce Buzz Facebook page, and check out our website at www.producebuzz.com. There you will find articles about fresh fruits and veggies, how to select, store, and prepare them, as well as lots of interesting facts about all the wonderful bounty the earth provides for us. Until next time, be fruitful and don't forget to veg out.